Peace, love, blessings, and honor. Welcome, everyone. I am your co-host, Ize Redd.
And I'm your co-host, Reality Souljah.
And we are Garvey's Ghost in the spectrum of roots. We're getting quite good at that.
Well,
I think it's a Hollywood thing coming. Today, another special day.
Yeah.
With one of the acolytes in the business.
Great.
Tell the people who we have in the place, brother.
Well, today we are honored to be joined by the one and only JT, Kibir La Amlak. Greetings, Jay. How you doing?
Greetings.
Yes, fire.
Yeah, great to be here. Give thanks for the invite.
Yes, how you mean?
Brother, thrilled that you're here.
Yeah,
really thrilled that you're here.
We've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and trying to unearth what makes a particular brother tick.
Yeah.
What is it that makes this brother tick? You're a unique kind of guy, bro. I ain't even gonna front. So let's get down and dirty and unearth all the stuff.
Well, let's take it from the beginning, where you was born, your family dynamics, siblings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I was born just outside a town that they call Southend-on-Sea.
Yeah.
In a little place called Rochford, because Southend didn't have a maternity unit at that time.
Okay.
That's a seaside town for those that don't know. Down the River Thames from London.
Mm-hmm.
East side.
And it's a very unique and special place still.
Right.
As all people who have visited there would surely know. And it's a town that has an unusual presence of reggae sound system.
See.
And has held a presence in reggae sound system for a good number of years.
Okay.
Yes.
From a time when that was very contradictory to the political scenario and the demographic of the area.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's Essex, right?
Yeah.
And Essex in them days, boy, I didn't go Essex till I was fully grown.
It wasn't the safest of places still.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Except for Southend, which still wasn't the safest of places, but some very serious sound system sessions did take place in that town.
Okay.
So that was part of the backdrop that I was born against in that town still.
Okay.
All right. So what was the family makeup?
Family makeup in the home was my mother, my father, and my younger brother.
So what did dad do? What did mom do? What's the story?
Contradictory again. In them times, my father was a butcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Man, like meat cleavers and shit.
I wasn't expecting that one. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know if being an italist come through choice or trauma sometimes. Yeah. And, mom was doing mom's business still.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I hear that.
Okay.
I hear that.
Okay.
So what about school? Early life in school? What did you like school? Or?
Yeah, thankfully, I loved school. Yeah, I loved the spirit of learning.
Well, you went to school to learn? We never went to school though. We went to go and see our mates and have a laugh.
Can't we done song system, your thing.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the early years.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first book I was ever bought as a child was 1,000 Answers to 1,000 Questions.
Wow.
Because I was driving, from I discovered that word, why?
Oh.
It was just driving everyone nuts.
And the appropriate book was bought. Now keep it quiet for an afternoon.
Yeah, so the school dynamic, how was school like? What was your friends like? Were your friendship circle and everything there?
I've, always had a kind of friendship circle, but always been a one-away as well.
Right.
So the dynamic for me was always like, in something, but on my own flex.
Okay.
Very much as well.
Do you think that comes from being an older child? Because I found that as well. Sort of, you immerse yourself in sort of care and looking after the younger ones or the younger one. But then you'd have to take time. That could be just speaking for me.
Yeah, man, I'm sure it's part of the older brother dynamic.
Yeah.
And certain events in my childhood also meant that maybe I had to kind of grow up a little piece faster than I otherwise would have done.
Right.
And that can definitely set you on a certain path. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it just allowed me to find the things that I really loved really quickly.
Right.
Okay.
Because it could have been a tragic type of situation.
Right.
But actually what happened is it created a hole in my life, because my father was involved in an incident and he stood up for what he believed was right, and it was the right thing to do. But unfortunately, the right thing to do was the wrong thing in the eyes of the law.
Right.
And he had to serve a little bit of time in prison. But that scenario there created a hole in my life that something profound needed to fill. And I will be forever indebted to the fact that it was Rastafari that filled that hole. Even though at that point in time, it wasn't tangible to me in the way I couldn't have articulated it.
Right.
But it was very real and made real by this 12-inch record, Max Romeo meets Jashaka, the Far Eyes, the Captain of My Ship LP. And that LP, along with this little postcard of the King, 3 images of the King as a child, as an elder statesman, and in the center as in the coronation regalia.
Right.
And then this record speaking about, you know, what it is to walk in the footsteps of the King, what it is to hold the King in that reverence.
Right.
Yes.
The image of Max Romeo on the front, the image of the King, Max Romeo there with his hands in prayer position, the titled Far Eyes, the Captain of My Ship, in that combination. So that dynamic there put me as a one-away youth in many respects.
Okay.
Because, like I say, out of what could have been a tragedy, something profound was put in that place.
Yes.
That just captivated me from that time till now.
Okay.
So this is around junior school time.
Yeah, junior
Okay.
school time.
And how did the teachers react to what they were seeing coming from you?
Yeah, again, always give thanks, because Jazz always put some mystical people in my path.
Okay.
Because even the final teacher that I had in my last year of junior school was just a one-away character. And the other thing that I inherited in that scenario was a double 15-inch bass box.
Okay.
And I actually took it to school one day. And the teacher just told me, this is great. It's like, you know, you should think about if you want to do something with music, because he could see how passionate I was.
Okay.
And I don't even really, it was just a madness. I just needed to take it into school. It was like the show and tell day.
Right.
But I rocked up with this double 15-inch reflex box. It was too heavy for me to carry. So I had to take the speakers out, take the cones out of the box, so then could manage the empty box, then put the cones back in one at a time, then wire it up, and then just plug it into the little radio in the school. Well, I wasn't even drawing no beeline really. I was just fascinated by this
Scene.
this thing.
Okay.
That is
Wow.
nuts.
So yeah, I thought you would have took it to like the school disco at the time. You know what I mean? String it up and play some tune.
But there was obviously a fascination there that kind of stayed with you and drove you on through all the latter years. And that seed was that was planted very early as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Real early. Teenage years, the fascination is already embedded. What happened next?
Then it just married up with, you know, I'd actually already pre-teenage years had been and experienced Jashaka at St. Paul's Carnival in Bristol.
Right.
And so, you know, teenage years was just an immediate extension of now going to sessions, understanding, you know, like I previously said, I didn't even have no amplification for the double 15-inch.
Right.
Next stage is discovering amplification and what can be done and how much I can emulate the sound system experience that I had been captivated by.
Yeah.
How much I could emulate that in my yard and, dodge the inevitable environmental health letter that came through quite quickly.
About the noise pollution.
Couple death threats from the next door neighbor.
Wow.
Yeah. He was very upset by my pastimes.
Your forays into experimentation.
So this is actually like your early delving into music and sound system, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd already started delving. Yeah, I think I started buying my first 7-inch record was like 9, 10 years old. So I'd already started buying the records. I think the critical thing in the teenage years was actually really starting to make a concerted effort to go to sessions.
Right. Okay.
And go and travel to different places and take in different sounds. And had a heavy routine of recording the sound system sessions, listening back to the cassette tape, and then graduating to mini disc.
Right.
And recording all these sessions and then, studying them. In between, go to one session, record all 6-7 hours of it, listen to that almost relentlessly.
Okay.
Until the next session.
Wow.
Yeah.
So music was really your ambition at school, secondary school, from an early time still, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'd actually been shown by my uncle who had clocked how much music was kind of taking over my life. And he took me into his studio and showed me the kind of notion.
Hold on. Uncle had a studio.
Uncle had a studio.
Lucky.
Why didn't I have an uncle like that?
Really?
Yeah, sorry, go.
Yeah, he had a kind of basic, like an Atari, an Emu sampler. I can't remember what the recorder was, and a few things. And the very first Yamaha digital console, I can't remember something. I don't remember the model number, but he was familiar enough with what dub was.
Right.
To show me, look, this music that you'll kind of love, right? Watch, boom, boom, boom.
Oh, okay.
Here it is on the faders. Push them up and down, see what happens. See what happens to it when you turn this knob above the fader.
Yes.
And that just blew my mind.
Right.
But the mad thing was in that time is technology was expensive.
Right.
There was no, the DAWs weren't on they were on PCs as sequencers, but not as full-fledged audio suite production house.
If you wanted to tape with a synth.
If you want to build a rhythm, you need a sequencer, some kind of sound modules or a sampler, hard disk recorder, a desk, some effects. So after that setting there, I never got to go back to a studio.
Okay.
And I knew that I had to get there.
Right.
And I was so passionate about that side of things, I got myself banned from the music department in school. So I even couldn't go down here.
Well, you started drawing double 18.
This time, bro, didn't it? For real.
So there was a technical fascination with what you were seeing, and that was married with hailing up the king. Did one feed into the other? What was that how it went? What was it, the sound, or was it the presence of the king? What was the driving force? I'm really intrigued, especially being so young.
I mean, I would say that it was the resonance of Rastafari, but I kind of would say that now looking back. That's obviously the convenient answer. But I also can't sidestep how magnetized I was to it and how I was a youth that needed a moral compass. Because the environment that I was in and the scenarios that I'd come from in life led me to be in a position where I could have been so vulnerable to suggestion. And I'm not saying I was an angelic youth at all. By any stretch. I was involved in quite a lot of undesirable things.
Okay.
but something inside the undesirable things that I was mixed up in kept pulling me back into this moral compass.
Yes.
So, and that it was very involuntary because I liked other styles of music.
Right.
You know, I liked I liked a lot in that time the like US soulful, funky house and stuff like that.
Okay.
And that was really popping around me at the time as well.
Okay.
And I even experimented and, you know, collected some music from that style and
Right.
but it was undeniable for me, even from a young age, the difference when I would go as a young man, be in a room full of adults, or a young child really, be in a room full of adults listening to something like Funky House, and in a room full of adults listening to roots reggae of a Rastafari persuasion on a sound system.
Yeah.
Palpable difference.
Yeah, a palpable difference that I couldn't have explained as a child. If someone had asked me to articulate it, I wouldn't really have been able to put it into words.
Okay.
But yeah, it was undeniable. And it's part of the reason that I feel so passionate about the music in its form, because I feel indebted to it and I feel like I'm a living testament
Okay.
of how it can save people, even in kind of far out places.
Right. What would you say your mum and dad's ambitions were for you at that time?
Were they happy to support this? This I don't know. This it's almost like a. Well, at the time it would have been kind of cultish, wouldn't it? It wasn't. It definitely wasn't a mainstream kind of preoccupation.
I think because of the fact that it was part of the cultural makeup of Southend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it didn't seem 100% abstract.
Right. Okay.
I'm not saying it was normal, but it wasn't 100% abstract. Because there was a lot of sound system sessions. Both my parents attended sound system sessions.
Oh, okay.
Took me to sound system sessions as a child.
Right.
So the concept wasn't abstract.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But maybe someone actually taking the principles of the music or the principles of the music
Yeah.
really to heart and starting to try and embody the morality contained within the music was kind of abstract still.
Right.
But I think there was an acceptance and there was never any objection or obstacles really. And so their ambitions, as far as I could ever tell, was just that I was, you know, at peace.
Okay.
Were they able to determine that the path you'd chosen was had the likelihood or the potential for building you as a more righteous whole, almost because you were adhering to principles that would have embraced things like humanity and
I think really and truly, given the backdrop against which I was raised and the scenarios that were going on in the around the area where I grew up,
right.
the fact that I wasn't really ever in trouble was just
Right.
enough, you know. There was no need to question because there was so much violence and so much drugs and so much madness.
Right.
And you didn't get swept away
And
with
I
that.
was never in trouble with the police.
Okay.
I was never, you know, compared to what was being. So
what obstacles and challenges were you facing now you're wearing the identity of Rastafari and the crown of the king?
quite early, I guess, in my trod, you know, 2-3 years in now, I left Southend and moved to Bristol.
Was that with the whole family or just you?
No, just me.
Ah,
Yes. So, and it's in Bristol now that I think Rastafari really started to, you know, galvanize for me. And mostly that can be attributed to the fact that I happened to just walk into there was a Rastafari HQ on Grosvenor Road in St. Paul's in Bristol.
right.
And then sat behind the desk was Raspan Deli Selassie.
Okay.
And he became an infinite source of guidance and presence as an elder in Rastafari in my life. During those times, I would sit with him in the HQ in endless reasoning.
Right.
As an elder, he really speaks in parables.
Right.
And, leads by parable and by example.
Okay. Right. Evidently a remarkable man and a remarkable influence. So that mentorship, that's what pretty much cemented your own introspection or your own relationship with the king also, right?
Yeah, it was a great privilege to have someone that just led by example and kept His Imperial Majesty as the focal point for the glory of the greatness of his example.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he showed me what it was to walk in faith
Right.
as a family unit and still prosper in spite of the obstacles and in spite of the challenges.
Right.
And how to meet every situation in the best interests of prosperity
Okay.
with diplomatic but ferocious and courageous spirit, all led and guided spontaneously by faith.
Yeah. The secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where is your music career and your sound system, like, where are you at this stage now?
So things have already kind of got serious to a level.
Okay.
Sessions have graduated from, house parties, and we used to book out rehearsal room, band rehearsal rooms, and keep little mini sessions.
Right.
And graduated up from that now to actually putting on sessions.
Right.
And being outside the major sessions, flyering and,
Okay.
Right.
And this is Kibir La Amlak.
No.
Oh.
Initially, before going to Bristol, I was in a sound with an ex-brethren called Aslan, and we had a sound called the Horns of Jericho.
Okay.
And I think that was where things definitely kind of took more of a professional angle for me.
Right.
And then going into the Bristol time now, there was another sound, or I had another sound called Teshuva Hi-Fi.
Okay.
And not to miss out that a critical moment in that journey also was the mentorship of another great elder by the name of Red Eye.
Cool.
Who also mentored me during that period into the transition.
Right.
And he was a great musical mentor. We actually started, I'd known him for most of my childhood. He was quite a figure in Southend. Sound man, producer and box builder, and one half of the duo Mr. Dubs that built Shaka Sound and many sounds.
All right.
And that also crystallized, to just flashback for a moment to that first Jashaka experience that I had at St. Paul's Carnival in Bristol. It's quite a mystical cycle, because that St. Paul's Carnival on Argyle Road in Bristol, Shaka's playing outdoors sometime in the mid-90s. I don't remember exactly when. And I remember being against the boxes and seeing the Mr. Dubs tag, and it had the dial code on the phone number for the landline of Southend.
01702.
Before the one.
All right.
0702.
Right.
And so I remember being in Bristol, being captivated by Shaka, seeing the image of the king on the wall, thinking about the Far Eyes, the Captain of My Ship album, looking at the metal tag on the speaker, seeing the dial code of my hometown, going back to my hometown, joining the dots, find out about Red Eye. He's one half of Mr. Dubs. Red Eye and I, fast forward into early adulthood, we start playing at a reggae night together at this bar called the Sunrooms, and we do it as a thing where he kind of schooled me in the art of selecting.
Right.
He took the right turntable, I took the left turntable, and it was a heated but very friendly, competitive selection battle, And that night ended, and that was every Tuesday night. And in the wake of that night, he realized that I wanted to learn to build rhythms as well.
Okay.
So from that point on, every Tuesday night, he came to my yard.
Right.
And taught me the basics of like, here's a classic rhythm, here's Satama Sagana, here's Promised Land, here's Rise and
Break it
Shine,
down.
this chords, this tempo, this is the way the bass moves.
See,
Right.
give you the rudiments. Go on.
And then at the same time, helped me build the first 8 Mr. Dub scoops,
Right.
which meant all the parts started to crystallize now. And then that was the birth of the Horns of Jericho sound system.
Okay.
And then we played RDK at Southall Community Centre. And that was the like, that's when it got serious now.
Lift off. So after RDK, that's when we had mission accomplished. You're in the stratosphere of where you want to be. This is where the journey really begins. Tell me about it.
It's been that ever since, to be honest.
The continuum.
Yeah. I blinked and now it's now.
So it was Horns of Jericho to Suva.
Yeah, so that Horns of Jericho period now, and then when I moved to Bristol, that was the Teshuva days.
Okay. What does Tsuva mean for the viewers, please?
Well, unbeknown to me at the time, I had this, I was, what's the word for haunted in a good way? Like,
Haunted in a good
I
way.
was haunted in a good way by the dub that Twinkle had cut for Shaka.
Okay.
Repent.
Right.
It was just playing over and over in my head. And I needed to, I'd left Horns of Jericho and I now needed to come up with a new name for a sound. And that just was in my head. So I looked into the etymology of the word repent and found this word teshuva and held that as the name. But really, after a period, it's like that name wasn't really working.
Right.
And because I think in a personal element of the journey, it's like, well, you don't repent forever.
Yeah.
It's not the point of repenting, if you've repented, then what?
What's next?
Absolutely. But then you're continually repenting. Yeah, I can see.
It's just kind of, you might as well give up,
Yeah.
So then it emerged again from just songs rattling around in my head, whether it's Zoot Sims,
Yes.
African Challenge, or there was a Lidj Zylon track, Kibir La Amlak, and the intro of the Prince Farai, one of the Prince Farai dubs.
Yes.
And then that, couldn't leave my head. So then that's when Kibir La Amlak was born.
Okay. Okay. And was the record label around the same time? Did it all gel together?
I'd already...
And the meaning is glory to God.
Glory to Jah, yeah.
Yeah.
The ideal outcome of
Repent,
repentance.
Exactly.
Yeah. For real.
But it's a name that, it's been an interesting name to carry throughout the years. And at that time, it was the name of the sound and the name of the label.
Right.
But it's gone throughout the years, it's become my name.
Right. Okay.
Synonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, that's what many people just assume they should call me now.
Right.
Not in its fullness, maybe, but Kibir or something. And it's been a very interesting journey to kind of reconcile that in me.
Okay.
And it's been one of the most sort of the things that I think has refined the work
Right.
that I'm doing. But the network, again, was Russ Bandeli.
Right.
Was one of the principal points of the network.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to reconcile this.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying by carrying the weight of the name. I'm really trying to reconcile the things that seem to contradict what's going on. Is this really an act of giving glory to Jah?
Right.
Is this really something that His Majesty would have approved of?
Right.
If we're doing this in the name of the King, are we so sure that if the King was to come like a thief in the night and observe our activities while we're booming down the place with sound system and doing this, is he really going to give us the nod and say, good one, guys, you know? This is exactly what I had in mind.
Are you worthy?
You know? And so going to sit down in the HQ and reasoning things like this and reasoning about, you know, how that fits in the constellation of the African liberation struggle.
Right.
In, you know, which is inherent to the thing as well.
Of course.
And it's at a point where the music's definitely, I mean, the warping had already started from demographic to demographic, but it's kind of getting in full swing at this period of time as well.
What do you mean by that, demographic to demographic?
Well, I mean that the cultural demographic is shifting from something that was a predominantly black audience,
Right.
maybe not to a predominantly white audience, but a predominantly, you know, mixed audience.
There was an evolution starting to happen.
I think it was gaining a lot more momentum in that period of time as well.
Got you.
And do you think the first diaspora was in acceptance of what was going on?
I think there
Was it an easy transition for everyone?
I don't think there's one way to summarize a multitude of responses.
Right. Okay.
Some people were obviously very opposed. Some people were on the fence. Some people thought it was a good thing. Some people... I'm sure they had them know there was and to this day is a multitude of angles through which one can view that situation and say, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah. So Kibir La Amlak is on the road. When did you start going to Europe and like networking it out there and like taking it out on the road, like outside of the UK and stuff?
It started even before Kibir La Amlak.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And it started even before Horns of Jericho, actually. I think I'd done my first show in Amsterdam when I was 18.
Oh, right, okay.
Really?
Yeah, just on a kind of...
Playing roots and dub and...
Yeah. Playing a solid roots and dub set.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was in me, like, that's exactly what I thought was the appropriate use of my time on Earth.
Yeah. Spread that message.
From them times.
Yes.
So, and, you know, every step that I made from that point forward was to work towards that aim of taking this thing, because really and truly, I've always just been fascinated by music.
Right.
Like fascinated in the way it's just like something so profound.
Right.
And Kibir La Amlak to me really summarizes the profundity of music.
Right.
It's this tangible experience that we can have of the most kind of divine mechanisms of melody and harmony and rhythm intertwining, combining that with, you know, the oral storytelling. And that fascination is just what's always driven me. And that now in the context of sound system and dub mixing, where I feel like there's even more space to allow the divine elements to come in. And this, again, not that reggae and sound system or myself are devoid from egotistical endeavors at all, but at least there's an expectancy that you try to hold it down and actively work on it not being that way, at least in you know, the very sort of Rastafari oriented sound system, production, creation, music avenue.
Right.
And I think the more you can reduce the ego, the more you allow the space for Jah to permeate the thing.
Yes.
You alluded to playing in the dance and that synchronicity of your experience and how it's been driven on over the years. And it's come to a stage now where you're almost like playing as part of performer and creating a new synergy in the dance by the dub experience in the dance. Tell us some of that.
Yeah, the live dub experience was actually the
Because
original.
I've seen it online, and I'm saying, where is my invite? I need to be. There's a tangible energy there.
It's an open invite. How you feel, man?
But the energy is just it's really, really good, isn't it? And you must get a lot out of it. So tell us about that, man.
Yeah, in truth, it was the original vision.
Right.
Because of that scenario of my uncle showing me the thing on the thing on the mixing desk. And sound system just captivated me very much for a period of time, and the production captivated me, and the technology for doing the live dub in the way that I wanted to do it hadn't quite caught up, and it wasn't portable. And yeah, it started to crystallize when I realized about Ableton software, and then things just kind of was like, oh wow, I can really do this how I envisioned it.
And we are looking for sponsorship, so Everton. Yeah, carry on.
And the sound system for me, I couldn't have a preamp because the preamp had too much of a limited functionality. I had to have a desk
Yes.
with 6 or 8 send and returns because I just loved the energy in the studio of mixing dubs. And so once I could get my head around how to do that in the live scenario, that really started to take over from everything. And I experimented with different constellations again, doing it with different singers and artists and musicians. And we've had some great experiences and even have a project cooking that is more in those realms now. But what I really think I became known for, and what it seems to have been, you know, the most celebrated manifestation of my work is the solo live dub experience that I've been kind of touring for the last, I don't know, 8 years maybe.
Yeah.
Is it that long already?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You get a sense of a certain reverence where you have this artistic performer, stroke sound man, and he's entertaining. He's giving you a unique dub experience that's a one-off. I think people really get that and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, that's to bring it back in again is this the notion of giving glory to Jah, trying to keep this moment in time sacred, and that requires a degree of being able to be. The way it's kind of crystallized for me is I need to be able to be very dynamic at all times,
And almost instinctive, intuitive.
If everything goes well, I don't really fully remember the show,
Yes.
if you want to, for want of a better word. And I've, just kind of absorbed into the audience and manipulated the music in real time according to the energy.
Yes.
And that's, how I presently feel that I can give glory unto Jah
Yes.
with the opportunity that I have in the contradictory space of things like nightclubs and the music industry.
But the energy becomes the entity itself, right?
Jah willing.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like Bruce Lee says, it hits all by itself.
Yeah.
So presumably it doesn't feel like hard work.
Yeah, I wish I could if a performance, again for want of a better word, I would rather call it a ceremony.
Yes.
If the ceremony has actually, if it's worthy of the word ceremony, I always feel way more energized at the end than I did before. If it doesn't, I feel way more exhausted.
Right.
So yeah, it's
that
a double-edged
giving.
sword.
It's that giving, though, isn't it? You're feeding energy. It's like you're feeding manna to people to nourish their souls. That's what it looks like from an outsider. I'm only saying that because I haven't been yet. You know what I mean? Was that invitation again? It's an open invitation, all right. But you must really get a lot of pleasure from doing that. Feel fulfilled, surely. The ego aside.
Yeah, I do. I do. And I also take it very seriously.
I feel humbled.
Yeah, I'm, if you're asking me as the person, it's a kind of a thing that's, you know.
You don't want to take credit for it because this is natural.
I would love to be able to say that without sounding cliched, you know.
right.
I would, but as much as is possible without going off on a bit of a sleazy one, you know.
Right.
But ideally, you know, if I could actually, you know, not have social media account and, you know, have a bag over my head and just do this,
Right.
it would be amazing.
Right.
You know, that would be amazing. So that as much as possible, that's where I kind of
Yeah.
want to be.
Because it's more pure then, isn't it? It's untainted by anything, almost like secular.
Yeah, and I'm not
Secular
saying that
one.
I don't enjoy the attention and don't enjoy feeling appreciated. I'm not, you know, naive to the
It's a natural
attractions.
human thing to feel that way.
But I'm aware of the contradiction in the two. And for that reason, that's why I'm like, no, it's not purely a breeze. Because straddling the contradiction and trying to make the most of one is a serious... I take the responsibility very seriously so that I feel that I'm allowed to take the joy from it.
Right.
If I don't take it seriously, I can't take no joy.
Right.
True that.
Okay. So we've established the live dub solo mixing and thing, but tell us about some of your musical mentors and peers that you've had to work with, had the pleasure to work with to get all your material and everything to this stage.
There's many, you know. So I really give thanks. And I'm actually not going to list them through fear of missing anyone out.
Right.
Yeah. That's the measure of this brother, you know.
See.
That's the quality. If you want to encapsulate this brother, what he just said there, so telling. Carry on, brother.
But
Appreciate
what
it.
I can say is that, you know, I've been really blessed to have a lot of people give me a strength in the areas that I needed a strength.
Right.
Musically, great promoters, great mentors in the musical realms, in the studio realms,
Right.
great artists that wanted to collaborate. Because I love, like, ideally everything is done in the spirit of collaboration.
Yeah.
I never really loved the remote working. I don't like just paying people for services. I like to, you know, honor the time that was spent with a financial exchange, but that's not paying for services. That's just honoring one's time because of the society that we live in. But the spirit of collaboration has to be present in what we're doing for it to feel, you know, proper in that way.
Yeah, I understand that. Fully.
And there's been so many people along that way. So anyone you associate with me is getting the royal salute.
See.
See it there?
Outside of music then, what's your hobbies and your interests?
Outside of music, you think you have time for anything outside of music? What?
You never know.
Yeah, I'm kind of cruel to myself, you know. I love being in nature.
Okay.
That's, you know, that has to be present in my life.
Yeah.
And that's where I can draw a lot of strength when I need to draw for strength.
Yeah.
I also have a keen passion for film, photography, design.
Okay.
So that occupies quite a lot of time.
Right.
Which can make it feel like there's never any other time for anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So no gardening, no... Do a lot of reading, anything like that?
Yeah, I like to read. I can't read non-fiction.
Okay.
No, I said that backwards. I can't read fiction.
Right.
Yeah, I can't read fiction.
Oh, I like a good John Grisham novel, man. Yeah.
Do you know, I have no capacity to do accents.
Okay.
Even inside my own brain. So all the characters
They're
merge
the same.
Those sound like
into
you.
one monotone guy from Essex.
They all sound the same.
Innit?
Yeah.
So how did you cope with the Bible then? With all the characters?
Yeah, it's a challenge.
Okay.
It's a challenge, but you know,
Yeah.
it's not so. It's not like
Contemporary.
reading a script
Right.
in that way,
Yeah.
you know, and
Okay.
it doesn't move as quick as a novel can, you know.
Okay.
No plot twists.
Yeah.
Well, there's quite a lot.
There's a
quite a
few.
lot of plot twists still, but
Say what?
Innit? Yeah, innit?
He did what?
Innit? What advice would you give to your younger self looking back now?
Oh.
Just don't hold back.
Right.
Yeah, because you know, there is no escaping taking risks.
Right.
Like without taking the risk, there's no reward.
Right.
If it's a creative risk, if it's a risk in performance, if it's a risk in pursuing a particular avenue
Yes.
or something, the risk is going to remain the risk for as long as you don't take the risk.
Okay.
So
And would that apply to, say you was giving advice to a young person who wants to come up in the music and in the profession, what advice would you give to them?
take the risk.
Same thing.
Take the risk, yeah, because you as long as you're worried about making a mistake, there's no achievement to be made.
I was going to say trepidation is a killer. Procrastination is even worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you describe as one of your best qualities?
Best and worst is my stubbornness.
Right.
Yeah, and just not letting go and not giving up.
Okay.
It's best and worst, yeah.
I mean, from what I get, I would say drive is one of your best qualities as well, because you seem to have a lot of drive in no matter what you do. That's how it comes across.
Is that linked to your stubbornness? It must be, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's all in the
All in
same
the same,
cluster
yeah,
of
right.
behavior.
And you see him back, you know.
See?
No, but you know, the best manifestation of that is sort of righteous intent that's self-perpetuating and self-energizing, and the negative polarity of that is like, you know, just hot-headed stubbornness.
Right.
Yeah, that righteous intent, that's like the snake eating itself. One feeds the other, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And the righteous intent is what feeds the motivation and the drive feeds the righteous intent and
real talk,
becomes perpetual.
real talk.
Real energy.
Yeah.
So what do you do to chill out then? If you know you haven't got anything to do, it's a weekend, you on the rare occasion you got a couple of days, just everybody's gone out of town and left you out, nothing to do. You haven't got any mixes to do. What do you do? Do you bake? Do you do knitting? Or what do you do?
It would be to just go and immerse myself in nature. The only thing that truly stops me from thinking.
Right.
I try to spend as much time in nature by hook or crook.
Right.
Yeah, however I can get there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I used to visit you in Bristol, we was always go to the river or go to here and you know what I mean, try and take in the vibes.
Yeah, and a lot of social media posts. You're out in the middle of
Yeah,
somewhere.
isn't it?
There's no such thing as in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You're out in the middle of somewhere, and it's nature, it's running water, it's massive trees, natural energy. I mean, I'm about to embark on a personal campaign of hugging trees, and that's not even a joke.
Serious.
That's not even a joke. That's a serious thing. It's about immersing yourself, centering yourself, and getting static out of our mind and body. So I can definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with hugging a tree still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Serious thing.
Get in touch with the
If
earth,
anything,
innit?
that's the most sane thing you can do, particularly now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, JT, it's been a real pleasure and an honour
Give
having you in
thanks.
and sharing your story with us and the viewers and the listeners.
Oh, give thanks for the invitation.
What makes a brother tick? And this brother's ticking's on top. You
Yep.
see me?
Yeah.
So,
Go on.
yeah, I can't wait to come and see you actually up close and personal,
Live dub.
giving glory to Jah
Yes, sir.
in the live dub scenario. Actually cannot wait. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes.
Give thanks.
So thank you for coming by, my brother.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Rastafari.
Peace and love.
sir.
Sir. Yeah.
I would like to say a big thank you to all the viewers and listeners. This has been Garvey's Ghost in the Spectrum of Roots. Tune into the next episode coming soon. Blessings.